Welcome to flight school. Go ahead and strap into that virtual left seat with me, because we're jumping right into an explainer on one of the most notoriously intimidating maneuvers in all of aviation, the spin. We're going to figure out exactly how to survive one by exploring the correct, highly structured inputs you need during the very earliest phase of a spin.
So, here's our flight plan for today. We'll start with a quick welcome to flight school, then break down the actual anatomy of a spin. After that, we'll talk about recognizing an incipient spin, walk through the exact recovery procedure, and finally, wrap up with some crucial airmanship and safety rules. Let's get to it.
All right, part one. Welcome to flight school, where we're going to master the onset of the spin.
Now, you might already know that fully developed spins are straight up prohibited in a lot of training airplanes, but mastering the incipient spin, that is absolutely vital. So what is it exactly? Well, incipient basically just means the very beginning or onset. So we're focusing entirely on recognizing that early onset and pulling off a recovery before things get out of hand and a full spin locks in. By the book, a successful incipient recovery has to happen before your wings pass a 90-degree bank angle. The goal here? Get the plane back flying safe with the absolute minimum loss of altitude.
Okay, moving on to part two, the anatomy of a spin. Let's dig into the aerodynamics of what's actually happening.
To really wrap our heads around a spin, we have to talk about stalled flight, because a spin is, fundamentally, a stalled condition. Look, if a wing drops during normal, unstalled flight, the airplane kind of naturally wants to right itself. But in a stall, it's a whole different ballgame. That dropping wing exceeds its critical angle of attack even more, meaning it stalls deeper. It suddenly produces drastically less lift, so it just wants to keep rolling. We call that auto-roll. At the exact same time, that deeply stalled wing creates a massive amount of drag, literally yanking the nose of the plane in the direction of the roll. And that right there is auto-yaw.
So when you put those forces together, it's a wicked combo. You've got reduced lift and way more drag on the dropping wing, while the rising wing is actually generating slightly more lift and less drag. Once that starts, the rolling-yawing cycle becomes completely self-sustaining. This unequal lift and drag is the very foundation of autorotation. Autorotation is essentially the engine driving the spin, and believe me, it is an engine we definitely want to shut off.
Let's talk about center of gravity for a second, because it completely changes the rotation. Think of a figure skater spinning on the ice. If they pull their arms in tight to their body, their mass moves closer to their center axis and they spin much faster. That's exactly what a steep spin is like, usually caused by a forward center of gravity. It rotates fast, sure, but because the nose is pointed down, recovering is actually generally easier. But if that skater throws their arms out wide, the rotation slows down. In an airplane, that's a flat spin, and it often happens when you have a rearward center of gravity. Guys, a flat spin is incredibly dangerous. Because the nose is pitched up, it becomes ridiculously hard to force the nose down, break the stall, and recover.
All right, part three, recognizing the incipient spin. Let's get into the actual cues.
Taking this from the whiteboard to the cockpit. If you have never experienced this in real life, looking out that windshield for the first time is a massive sensory shock. As autorotation kicks in, the plane violently pitches into a steep nose-down attitude. Suddenly, the horizon just tilts wildly, and the ground starts filling your windshield in this continuous, rapid rotation. It is super disorienting. The airplane might even feel like it's hesitating or hanging inverted for a split second before the spin really locks in.
And hey, if you think you can just duck inside the cockpit and check your panel for help, no way. In a spin, your flight instruments become essentially useless. Because of the extreme pitch and roll rates, your gyros are going to topple. That completely kills your attitude and heading indicators. Meanwhile, your altimeter and vertical speed indicator, they'll just be screaming that you are in a massive rapid descent. You literally cannot rely on the panel right now. Your eyes need to be outside, and you have to feel what the airplane is telling you.
So here's the mental checklist you need to burn into your brain. You're going to see a steep nose-down attitude. You'll see continuous, rapid rotation. You're going to feel a sudden change in G-loading and probably some physical buffeting vibrating through the tail. Your airspeed will actually be surprisingly low, but your altitude, that's going to unwind incredibly fast. Since your instruments are lying to you, you absolutely have to rely on these physical and visual cues to recognize that an incipient spin is happening.
Moving on to Section 4, the recovery procedure. This is exactly how we survive it.
The absolute second that rotation starts, you have to execute these life-saving steps, methodically. Step 1, push the control column centrally forward. Step 2, apply opposite rudder to completely stop the yaw and roll.
Step 3, as your airspeed picks back up, level the wings using coordinated ailerons and rudder to gently ease out of the dive. And finally, Step 4, apply full power as you return to level flight. Okay, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. You have to shove that column forward to unstall the wings, while stepping on that rudder to kill the auto-rotation yaw.
Visualizing these inputs, pushing that elevator down pitches the nose down even further towards the dirt. I know, it feels completely counterintuitive when you're literally staring at the ground, right? But it is literally the only way to break that deadly stall. At the exact same time, your opposite rudder stops the yaw. Think of it as a strict sequence. Unstall the wings, stop the yaw, break the spin. Only after that do you level the wings and add power to climb out of the dive.
Which brings us to our final section. Number 5, airmanship and safety first. These are the rules to live by.
To make sure we always live to fly another day, we don't just casually practice spins. Before you even think about doing this, you've got to make absolutely sure your specific airplane is spin certified. You must rigorously check your weight and balance limits so you don't accidentally trap yourself in that unrecoverable flat spin we looked at earlier. Once you're up there, you need to run a thorough pre-aerobatic hassle check to make sure the airspace all around and below you is totally clear. And please, start high. Your recovery needs to be completely finished by at least 3,000 feet above ground level. Just keep in mind, a single rotation in a spin can easily eat up 500 feet of altitude.
That leads us right to the ultimate golden rule of aviation safety. It's written in stone for a very good reason. Avoid unintentional spins by avoiding stalls. Honestly, the absolute best way to survive a deadly spin is to just maintain your situational awareness, manage your airspeed, and never enter one by accident. It's simple physics, really. If you don't stall, you cannot spin. But look, flight is dynamic, right? Emergencies happen. That is exactly why we train. Like the saying goes, know how to recover from a spin, even though you may never have to do it. Having this knowledge and burning those very specific control inputs deep into your muscle memory, that is hands down the greatest insurance policy any pilot can carry into the sky. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer and head out to the tarmac. When that stall horn starts blaring, when that wing suddenly drops and the horizon violently tilts and spins, are you going to be able to fight your natural instincts? Will you be ready to push that control column forward to unstall those wings? Respect the aerodynamics, trust your training, and stay safe up there. Thanks for hanging out with me to explore this, and we'll see you in the skies.